On today's episode of By the Wayside, we're going to be speaking with artist MASSIMO SABADIN. Of course, we're going to have an Omar Recommends that always happens after the interview with the guest, who's MASSIMO SABADIN. And today we're going to be talking about Free RPG Day, so don't go anywhere. Yeah. Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. That was weird. I, of course, am your host, Jordan Middlebrook. I have to be honest, I actually had to practice this. For some reason, I am feeling a little off today. That's just what it's like to be human. Here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails in the past, on June 21st, there was Free RPG Day. And over 700 stores worldwide celebrated or participated in this event, where if you came into the shop, you could get free content, like free RPG modules and books. And the whole purpose of the event is to introduce you or people that come to the shop or people that don't know what an RPG is to what the industry has to offer, and to also show what other companies have in the way of their own RPG games. You'll see right now, as I was talking, I'm pretty sure there's a video of all the stuff that was available here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails for Free RPG Day on June 21st. I know that was a couple weeks ago, and if you're watching this in the further future, it was so many times ago. One of the really cool things on this show that I love to talk about is creativity. And Free RPG Day presented owners of shops like Wayside Comics and Cocktails with what they call a dungeon crawl. It's very interesting. Let's find out what that is. Basically, what the dungeon crawl was a choose your own adventure where you would travel around a retail space like Wayside Comics and Cocktails, and you would basically fight a dragon. And as you, whoa, I almost fell over. And as you went along, you took a picture of a QR code to decide what your next move was. Very fun, very interesting. And as you took pictures of each QR code, it told you to go to a different area within the retail space. Over here, I'm in the darkest corner. And then you'll scan the QR code and it'll say, you've earned a sword, go here. Each QR code takes you on a different adventure. It gives you weapons, it gives you potions to help when you eventually get to fighting the dragon. And that was the most fun of all of this. There was 6 phases, sort of. You took a picture of your QR code. It brings you around the shop or retail space like Wayside Comics and Cocktails here. And you eventually get to this area where there's a dragon and you choose to run away or you choose to fight. And then you add up all the things that you've earned over the course of this little adventure and you fight the dragon. Whether you win or you lose, something always amazing happens. What's that amazing thing? Lots and lots of fun. As I get right to the end of this whole thing about the dungeon crawl or fought the dragon that was provided by Free RPG Day here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails, the simplicity of this game was absolutely amazing, and the creativity that went behind it, I think, is astounding. And this is the sort of thing that you can create at home by yourself, and you can engage your friends, your family. Think about family reunions, or on Easter, or Thanksgiving, or even Christmas Day. Kids come over and they find... I just had a great idea for Christmas Day, by the way. But when it's all said and done, whether you win or you lose, you get a cool little sticker. And it says, I fought the dragon, Free RPG Day 2025. This was cool. This is awesome. I get an award. Stick around. We got lots more in this episode, including an interview with MASSIMO SABADIN. We've got an Omar Recommends happening a little later. Don't go anywhere. There are 2 things in this world, death and taxes. The podcast definitely talks about death. How many times can I use the word definitely and definitely? Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. With me today, imposter and artist, MASSIMO SABADIN is with me today. Massimo, thank you very much for taking the time and spending it with me, because I know you've come from a land afar to here to Wayside Comics and Cocktails in Newmarket. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome. It's so nice that when you go to say thank you, someone honks the horn as they drive by here on Main Street in Newmarket.
If I had sworn, it would have been perfect, because it would have been like a bleep.
Sometimes we tend to swear. Let's see how nasty we can get. Don't swear, please.
No, I won't.
I will though. I'm like a sailor today. I'm feeling crass. No, I'm not. I'm a nice guy, Massimo. I'm a nice guy.
Oh, I know.
Your passion for comic art, where does it come from?
Well, I've always been I mean, ever since I was young, it was always comics for me. I would go to the corner store at my grandmother's, and I'd always be spending my time at the spinner rack, just
Yeah.
looking at the books and stuff. And just the visual storytelling of comic art has always been something that's really been, emotive to me.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of people, when they're thinking about comic books, they always come back to that spinner rack, or even sometimes when you're waiting at a grocery store and there's the candy on one side and then the Archie on the other. There was always X-Men comic or just a random Spider-Man comic. That's what I always think about that when someone would say to me, "Oh, where does your love of comic books?" Mine of course comes from the spinner rack as well. I think of the times my mom would go to the grocery store and I would pick up a copy of, again, Spider-Man. I don't even remember what they were, but like Spider-Man, and open it up and be like, "Oh, Spider-Man's fighting Tombstone,"
Yeah, it's cool though, because it's just like, it's when you're young, especially, it's like you see these vibrant colors and these action sequences, and it's just captivating.
It's almost like when you're a child, you watch your Saturday morning cartoons and you go to a comic book and you're like, holy, this is a Saturday morning cartoon put onto paper. You know what? It's funny. I just had that realization right now. We should write a book about comic books and the correlation between that and Saturday morning cartoons.
That would be, if it hasn't been done, that would be a good idea.
Well, if it hasn't been done, that's our idea. Do not steal it, regardless of where this is on the internet. I will find you and I will sue you.
He's a nice guy.
Oh, I did say I was a nice. Dang it. Everything's going backwards on me today. Massimo.
Yes.
When creating your artwork, do you prefer more digital or analog?
I think it depends. It depends on what I'm doing. Like if it's just the random drawing, I do tend to go more traditional. For working on stories and whatnot, I do work more digital nowadays, just because of the speed. Back in the day when it was working on art boards and inking and scanning and lettering, it was quite the process. But now with digital, it's all self-contained, and I just find it much, much faster.
Technology definitely has caught up with the creative. I've mentioned a couple times on the show where I do my show with a phone. This isn't something that someone could have done, let's say, 20 years ago. I know that even when YouTube came around in the early aughts, let's say 2003, I think, there was no camera phone. There was no portable camera like this. Like I had said, technology's caught up with creatives. So you're talking about going from these 11 by 17 artboards, which would require multiple layers of blue pencil, 2B, Sharpie or ink, or however you would ink, and then you'd have to scan it so that it could be sent out, or even sometimes colored, because digital coloring in the last 25 years is sort of a new thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that instead of having all of this pile of stuff, you can consolidate all of your artwork onto a tablet, or I don't know how to pronounce it, Wacom. So everything can just be put there. So technology really has made it easier for the artist to stay organized and to maximize the potential of speed in which an artist might lose if they ink or if they pencil something and they go, now I gotta ink this thing.
Yeah. That's when, and you have the teams involved in that too, in order to facilitate production, because there were the days when books delayed because they're behind in inking or penciling or whatever. But now it's like you can do it. You don't have to. You could rough out on your tablet and then just immediately go straight over with inks.
Yeah,
digital inks. But it's much more easier that way, I find.
You're skipping like 3 steps, and you don't have to farm it out to another individual to do it themselves. Yeah, you're right. Like, again, technology, man. The time is now that I'm in my mid 40s, and like imagining something like this when I was in the 90s when I was a teenager is just like, this is mind blowing. Yeah. Welcome to our future talk episode. We're talking about creatives and technology. Your creativity extends beyond drawing. You make music as Moz.
Yes.
And is there a common thread between the artwork that you do in terms of pictures and music?
I think so. I mean, it's just a different, well, depending on who you're asking, but it's a different form of storytelling. Like you can listen to the songs of Beatles, Leonard Cohen, and you get those sort of tales within a 3 minute, 5 minute, whatever, how long. Pink Floyd, half an hour, but
Yeah.
I think it's just a different way of expressing. So it has that sort of another side to just having that sort of creativity and outlet.
When you are, say, reading a comic book, are you the type of individual that listens to music when you read a comic book?
Very much.
I don't know exactly what you read, but give me an example of something that you'd be reading with a soundtrack in the background.
I guess it depends on the story. Like with an X-Men story, if you were to read that, sometimes you would have, I would say, more of like a harder rock sort of sound. Strangers in Paradise, I find that kind of style, I would say more into well, that could vary. You would say, well, because it's this Terry Moore, who's I actually find very influential. He has that sort of thing where it's drama, but then you can throw in like the action with the Parker girls, so you can have that sort of almost like a James Bondy sort of feel to it. So it can vary between that dramatic score versus that action sequence sort of sound. I know when I write or work, I actually make a soundtrack for my.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like just curate a playlist or whatever. Of course, when I'm writing music as well, I visualize it as well. It's like I see this fitting in this kind of a scene kind of thing. There's always some sort of cross-pollination.
Do you, when you were younger, did you find that music was a great way to escape sort of the outside world? Like you would go into your room and put on the radio or whatever, like whatever you had, and listen to it just so you can just drown out everything?
Very much, because you kind of get lost, especially when there's there's a depth to music at times. I mean, don't get me wrong, you listen to AC/DC, you know what you're listening to.
Yes.
But you can listen to bands like I don't know, Slow Dive, where they have that sort of wave of sound that you get lost in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a characteristic to music, and it brings you somewhere.
You've worked in graphic design.
Yes.
Is working in graphic design as fulfilling as creating artwork for a comic book, like say TikTok Tom? You're wearing that shirt today. TikTok Tom.
Yes, I am. Oop,
that's all right. It's just a mic.
I know. I think it depends on the project. I mean, that's my day job. I work in design. I've been working in it for, I think, over 20 years now. Corporate marketing, stuff like that. It's a job.
Yeah.
But when you have that time or that opportunity to kind of use design and have it, have a little fun with it, that's when it's really fulfilling, because you get to see something that's like, I've done some album cover art for some musicians, and that kind of creative process of like where you listen to that music again, cross-pollination, and you're like, okay, this is the feeling I'm getting from this song, this is the visual that I'm associated with that feeling, does it work as a visual element to add into the music? When things like that kind of happen, I enjoy doing the design work.
When someone mentions sort of into the zeitgeist or the atmosphere, if someone says, hey, graphic design, it's not all advertisements, it's not all logos. It does involve things like the cross-pollination of creative minds. Like you said, album colors. Oh my goodness.
Colors are involved.
I went all day without messing up. Not once did I screw up one word. I even said your name pretty good, Massimo Sabadin.
Yes,
was it good that time?
Very good.
Oh, thank you very much. You're on camera now, so you have to say I'm good.
Yes, he's a nice guy.
Everything you're saying is on the record.
I know.
I am a nice guy, ladies and gentlemen. But a lot of people don't realize that cross-pollination of creativity does exist when it comes to graphic design. Like you said, album covers is a big thing. Like photography, like the digital artwork for an advertisement, like say, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, like a Walmart flyer. What's important is that everybody watching this gets to know who you are. They get to go to where you are. Of course, right now, your name will pop up on the screen. Your information will pop up on the screen. People will be like, hey, let's check out what Massimo Sabadin is doing today. What is Massimo? No, I'm just kidding. Stick around. We've got lots more with Massimo right after this.
This is By the Wayside. We'll be right back. No, that was wrong, wasn't it?
And we're back. Of course, I'm your host, Jordan Middlebrook. I'm with Massimo Sabadin, and we are continuing our conversation. With all of the work that you've done creatively, like comic books and pinups and illustrations, lithographs, and the such, is there one character that you would like to work on that you haven't done before?
When you grow up, you're like always drawing the comic book heroes that you've enjoyed reading or not. And I guess my top two have always been Wolverine and the Flash.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC. So those have always been my two. But I mean, nowadays, I find myself veering towards the independent stuff, not necessarily character-wise, but more storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I released a book about 5 years ago, I think. I wrote it as actually a movie. Technology wasn't where I was available, and I just didn't have it. So I'm like, well, I can draw.
Yep.
I turned it into a comic book.
Awesome. What's the name of that comic book?
Sweet Euphoria.
People need to see that. That sounds awesome. I love that idea. It also comes down to, I know technology is really bringing things, it's making things a lot easier, but it's what you have in your hand, what you're capable of doing, because I feel that limitations benefit creativity, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So if someone says to you, Massimo, I want you to write a story about this mug, you have 6 pages. The mug is French, and its enemy is a spoon. So you only get these parameters. I think that creativity, the list of rules, while creativity doesn't always need rules, but the list of rules helps creativity because you have to think outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be like, okay, well, why is it a villain a spoon? I only got 6 pages to tell it. So I think what you're saying, not what you're saying, but how I'm interpreting what you're saying is that you wanted to make this movie, but it costs money to make a movie. It requires a little bit more than just you to make the movie. But at your grasp is a pen and a pencil, a creative mind. You're an artist at heart, so make a comic book out of it. I think that's awesome.
Well, a lot of creatives do that too. When, especially, it seems like Image has been a very prominent outlet for that kind of thing, where you hear writers, I can't name any off the top of my head, but they'll say that, oh, I wanted to make this movie, but it never worked. So I went to the comic book route, and I was able to expand on it because it's like you have the limitations as far as what you can film, but with comics, it's like possibilities can be endless because you don't have to worry about budget.
That's if you want to have a giant tentacle monster fight a 10-year-old girl who uses her teddy bear as a sword, you can do that.
Yeah,
I think that's such awesome. Don't steal that idea.
I was going to say,
you
heard it here, right?
Massimo, when doing all of your artwork, again, is there a favorite pose that you like to put all of your characters or artwork in?
I don't really have a favorite pose. I think it usually dictates the character. Whether it's, if I'm drawing, like, let's say I'm doing one of the TikTok Tom characters, Iggy tends to be like the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you want to make her look tough and cool and have that sort of vibe with that.
Mm-hmm.
I know one time I drew Tom, the TikTok Tom character, because he's known to explode.
Yes.
Where it's just him holding a match. So it's kind of like ready to blow kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it just depends on the character and the kind of situation you want to put them in. As far as a favorite pose,
it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially as an artist who puts figures in so many different poses. Could you imagine the artist that has to do Spider-Man? The dude is literally bendable in every single way.
You look at the early Spider-Man, and he's, very agile, and then you bring in guys like Tom McFarlane, and suddenly he's contortionist.
Yes.
It's like, I don't think the body bends that way, but I mean, it's Spider-Man, it's dynamic.
And the laws of physics don't apply in comic books, right?
No, and I'm a big McFarlane fan, so I'm not trying to crap on it. I'm just saying, like,
I'm going to get him on the phone. I'm going to say, listen, Mr. McFarlane, Massimo Sabadin is a huge fan, but your artwork is breaking all the rules, all of the rules.
But that's the fun of it.
I agree 100%. I just thought of this on the fly. There's 2 characters that I wanted to show you of the poses that I think of immediately. Okay. So don't be freaked out. I'm actually getting up. You don't have to do nothing. You can watch me if you want.
Yep.
So when we're talking about Spider-Man, I immediately thought of that Todd McFarlane picture. You know, the one. I brought the chair because I'm gonna actually perform it. So he's like, I think it's the famous. You know how he's like this? I'm an old man, and he's like. See, now I'm pulling myself down, but he's doing this pose, right?
Yeah.
You know the one.
The Spider-Man 1 cover. And
and it's got all that stuff in the background. Yep. That's what the first thing I think of when someone's talking about a character pose. And there's always a Spider-Man in that pose, other than him like jumping and he's doing like
he's got the foot up past his
head, like the impossible things like this. The other one is Hellboy.
Yes.
Mike, I keep hearing his name pronounced different ways. Mignola. I don't know. How would you pronounce Mike's last name?
Mignola.
Mignola? I don't know. I hear it many different ways. Maybe it's just me being that guy. But there's always the one. He's always got a torch for some reason.
Yep.
And he's big and he's hunched over, and you can always see like this. I always picture him like that.
Yeah.
Or there's the one when he's jumping. So
But it's like a soft jump. It's not like the Spider-Man jump. It's more like I'm jumping a few steps.
yeah. And he's
Yeah. Yep.
See, yes, you get it
for sure.
You get it 100%, Massimo. You get it 100%. Since this is my show, if you're willing to, no, I'm just kidding. You don't. I'm not going to make you do any gymnastics. Massimo, I can't thank you very much for coming in today and spending some time with me on the show today. It's really appreciated.
Well, again, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Awesome. Stick around. We've got lots more in this episode, so don't go anywhere. This episode is sponsored by the podcast Definitely. There are two constants in this world, and I know a podcast that happens to talk about one of them. It's death. It's Definitely the podcast. Listen to Definitely. It's a podcast that breaks down the barriers about death and makes it a more comfortable subject to talk about. Topics like necromaterials, the iconography of death, iconography is a tough word. Topics like necromaterials, iconography of death, and even famous last words that can make the subject a little bit more comfortable. Definitely is a podcast that takes death seriously, so you don't have to. Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. Of course, no episode is complete without an Omar Recommends, and Omar is around here to recommend something. Hey, Omar, are you around here somewhere?
Hey, Jordan. How's it going?
That worked so much better than I wanted it to. Oh my.
Didn't even put this out for me this time.
Jeez. It's like
hospitality here is lacking.
I wanted to know how this was going to execute, and it worked so well. Omar, what do you have to recommend?
I just wanted to pop up.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This man needs an ad blocker. That's all I'm saying. All right. So while he's apparently losing himself in the back there, Giggle Yoga is a thing. Today we're going to recommend a book series that I really enjoy from my two favorite creators in comics, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Today we're recommending the Reckless series. So there's a couple of other books in the Reckless series. The awesome thing about this series, I'll say, is you can jump in at any point and check it out. They're not numbered specifically for that reason. But yeah, so just to jump into it, the main character here is Ethan Reckless. He lives out in LA and he's ex-military, and he kind of inherits this movie theater and he just wants to help people. That's kind of his thing. He's kind of a PI, kind of not. He's just kind of a fixer. As he goes along, he kind of develops this little band of his little band of characters that help him out, his sidekicks, if you will. And yeah, they do all kinds of cases, from missing people to dealing with cults to all kinds of things. And it's just a fantastic series. And like I said, it's all written as case files. All the stories are just being recounted by Ethan in his older age. So he's getting his perspective on what actually happened as well. So he's not just living it in the moment, he's actually recounting it as well.
Each one of these is a different case?
It's a different case, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, you get lots of different variety and lots of flavors to choose from, and if you enjoy it, there is a little bit of payoff, I guess, if you were to read them in the order in which they were released, but it's very minimal. Yeah. In terms of what they're actually doing. But yeah, you get to see like rediscovering old lost loves of his coming back into his life. Yeah, he's a guy, he's got kind of a short fuse too with certain things, and it's just good classic hard-boiled sort of noir, but with that LA surfer vibe to it.
Okay, yeah, very cool.
And I love the fact that they kind of like work out of a theater and they just watch old movies and they talk about old movies and dissect these things. And it's just like, if the best way to describe Reckless is if you had kind of that kind of 70s film noir, but it was all done from the perspective of like you and your friends hanging out. You just happen to go out and solve cases too.
Well, what people don't know is that's what we do here.
Well, I mean,
I think, well, in order to
that's why my pop-up skills are so good. I can hide behind little things. See, you don't even see my hand right now. Boom. Boom. That was twice. You can see it coming.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, Brubaker and Phillips, other than like, okay, so I'm going to talk about Sean Phillips first. His artwork is so evocative. He really creates a beautiful world, and his colors and tones really bring everything he does to life. Brubaker just writes good characters, man. Like, these are real people. and that's how they feel. Anytime Brubaker touches a script for a comic book, he writes real people, and they feel like real people, and they feel like people you get to know on the journey. And like that's why I love this creative team so much, because they bring their worlds to life so well, and they really make you care about the characters. And I think that's the most important part to get involved in a story, is you really have to care about the characters, to care what actually happens to them, and to make the stakes go. So like, especially in this case, he's recounting all of his cases. You know the outcome because he's an old guy and he's telling his stories.
Yeah.
But within that, if he wasn't being written so well, if the words weren't permeating so heavily through everything, you wouldn't really care. Like, he has his way of just making you lose that whole side of it. You're like, oh my God, I'm like really in this story, and I'm with these people, and I'm going through this, and I'm experiencing what they're going through in this moment. And you kind of lose sight of the fact that, you know, he's just retelling the stories, and like he's kind of like taken that onus out of it. But that's what makes these books so great, and they're just a lot of fun. If you like noir, if you like character studies, if you like a good drama, if you like action, there's something in here for everybody. There really is. And I highly, highly recommend these books. They're just a fun read.
Awesome. And I know,
especially summertime reads, man. Surfer noir. Come on, let's do it. This is like Point Break. Ooh, less Swayze. I don't know, actually. There might be a little Swayze in there. Yeah. Maybe less Keanu, more Swayze. Less Keanu, more Swayze. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. I think, well, that's how the world should work, right?
I mean, that's like a balanced diet, right?
Less Keanu, more Swayze.
Yeah.
I don't know. How would Dirty Dancing fare if it was less Swayze, more Keanu?
Well, would you rather be gluten-free or Keanu-free?
That's tough. I want more Keanu in my life and less gluten. This is tough. This is a great recommend. This has also made me think more about how I should introduce you on the show. And it has made me think more about how I need more Patrick Swayze in my life. You know, R.I.P.
Yeah. Go watch Roadhouse. Everyone should watch Roadhouse.
Say goodbye.
Should I say goodbye?
You say goodbye.
Come on and pop out again?
You could actually get up and disappear back behind your side.
I could.
You're going to.
I could.
That's how we're going to end it.
We'll catch you by the wayside.
What he said.
That's 3, guys. That's 3. That was 2. That was 3. Because I can't count on fingers, apparently.
There's lots more in this
We
episode.
do these really early, guys. Really early sometimes. Catches me just like, well, I'm barely awake.
The height of creativity is always in the mornings.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots more in this episode. Don't go anywhere.
This is so good.
Man, we sure have a lot of fun around here. That was a complete episode of By the Wayside. I, of course, want to thank my guest, Massimo Sabadin, for coming in today to talk about all the really fun things that we do around here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails, and on each episode of By the Wayside. Of course, I want to thank Omar Sayer, owner and purveyor. That rhymed, that was awesome, of Wayside Comics and Cocktails here in Newmarket, Ontario. Of course, this show is supported by the publishing imprint Wayside Creative, which focuses on innovative storytelling from creative and amazing minds. Social medias are going to pop up on this side, I think, all this stuff here. I want you to follow, like, subscribe, share, comment on all the socials. Your support means a ton, a lot. It means a ton. Of course, I am Jordan Middlebrook, and I will catch you by the wayside.
Hopefully you can't see me, or if you do,
Can't
it's
see-
going to look ridiculous.
I can't see you, so that's all good.